Good morning, everyone. Well, good afternoon if you're in Eastern time zone. It is 12 o'clock on March the 4th, Friday, March 4th. I'm Patrick De Haan, GasBuddy, head of petroleum analysis, here to give you an update. Obviously, gas prices have started to increase dramatically across the country. I'd like to take the first couple moments here to say hello to everyone. If you're a member of the media and have any questions, please do submit those comments directly in the page here, and we will try to address some of those FAQs here later to get you questions on local prices. This will be geared to Canada and the United States in terms of gas price increases. Obviously, we've seen some pretty dramatic increases here over the last few days. It just does not stop, but things may start to improve. I'll start with the top down here. The price of oil continues to be very high, up again today at about $114 a barrel for West Texas Intermediate crude oil. Well, actually now it's down to about $112. The wholesale price of gasoline is up another 14 cents a gallon today. What that means is the price increases will likely continue across Canada and the United States. I know a lot of prices have already gone up, in some instances 50, 60, 70 cents over the last few weeks. There will be more increases coming, maybe to the tune of another 20 to 30 cents a gallon. I do expect that the national average in the United States will hit the $4 a gallon mark. That's probably something that's less than 2 or 3 weeks away. We are likely to set all-time new records in the U.S. That all-time record in the U.S., $4.10 back in 2008. That's something that could happen by April Fool's Day. Now in Canada, prices are already at all-time record highs. Much of Canada will continue to see prices go up by another 5 to 15 cents a liter over the next 1 to 2 weeks. So the pain is equal no matter where you are in the U.S. or Canada. We are looking at pretty significant spikes. I'll start with a few questions. I have a few typed up here to go through. Again, feel free to use this video and audio as you feel fit. How much have gas prices increased over the last few days? Is this an increase of, is this an unusual amount in terms of increase? Yes, it is. In fact, outside of August and September, which are hurricane season months, we've never seen such a large single-day increase in the national average outside of those 2 months. The increase yesterday was 6.4 cents a gallon. That is the largest increase we've ever seen outside of the months of August and September. Those are on record, meaning that we've never seen a larger single-day increase outside of August and September. Very much true for Canada as well. Some all-time record highs in terms of the increase in price. The U.S. national average now at about $3.78 a gallon. If I take a fresh look here, $3.78 a gallon. In Canada, I believe at last check, we were at about $1.65 a liter. I will take another look here to see where we are across Canada. Canada's average now at about $1.69 a liter, 169.4 up from 165.9 yesterday. So Canada seeing very strong price increases as well as the United States. Again, this is fairly unusual, highlighting the potential, or I should say highlighting the fact that while the U.S. has not yet at this moment directly put sanctions on Russia's energy, previous sanctions on Russia's banking and shipping industries is essentially putting a chokehold on Russian oil exports, which have plummeted. So certainly those existing sanctions are having a significant impact, and that is why oil prices have continued to go up in recent days because of the chokehold on Russia's exports. So again, U.S. and Western countries' previous sanctions on Russia are resulting in a near chokehold on Russia's oil exports, which is why oil prices are going up, and that is why gas prices are going up. Now, keep in mind in the U.S., we are also transitioning to summer gasoline, something we've talked about. Most of what we're seeing in the last couple of weeks has really been fueled, I would say 80% by Russia, 20% by the changeover. Huge price increases of areas of the Great Lakes, now $3.89, $3.99 in Michigan, Indiana and Ohio, I should say $3.99 in Illinois, over $4 in Chicago. Prices in Florida this morning started going up by 20 cents to $3.79. I'm in Tampa right now and the price shot up 20 cents. These types of increases will likely continue across the U.S. Canada will likely see prices jumping several cents a liter every day. In fact, Vancouver this morning hit a new all-time high in terms of stations going over the $2 a liter mark in Vancouver. Exceptional increases will continue. It's just a matter of time before most areas will likely hit $4 a gallon in the U.S. California is already at $5 in many areas. That will continue. Most California cities will likely continue moving closer to $5.25 in the next week. We could eventually see California going to $5.50. That is not something we will see nationally at this point yet. Based on factors today, I would say the national average will likely hit that $4.10 a gallon mark. That will set a new record. We could be on our way to $4.25 for a national average. There, of course, are developments that could change. So all of this is not yet set in concrete, but everywhere across the country, gas prices will continue to go up. San Francisco just hit the $5 gallon average. Many people are pointing out that there have been higher single stations spread throughout the country, but this is the first time an average major U.S. city has hit the $5 gallon mark. San Francisco's there, Los Angeles is at $5, San Diego at $5, and like I said, most areas of California will get to that $5 a gallon mark. How much is the role? How much of a role is the Russia-Ukraine conflict playing in these spikes? Again, to back up what I said a couple minutes ago, I would estimate the impact is probably 80% of what we're seeing here in the last week or two. Maybe 20% is the fact that this is coming on the top of the time that we're starting to transition to summer gasoline. So the bulk of what we're seeing still has to do with the Russia-Ukraine situation. If that situation worsens or if it escalates, the impact could be more severe. So just keep that in mind. It's obviously a fluid situation. What will be done to mitigate the issue? Can the White House take any action to decrease taxes and increase oil supply? Well, we did see the president and the International Energy Agency, the IEA, say that they were going to make a collective release of 60 million barrels of oil, which is 30 million barrels from the U.S. Keep in mind that the president had made a U.S. contribution of a 50 million barrel release last fall. So overall, that 30 million barrel contribution from the U.S. is quite insignificant. The market has not reacted. Prices are not going to slow down because of that release being so small. It will have very little impact. And to put it into context, the 60 million barrels announced by the IEA being released, that's about 14 hours of global consumption. So obviously we would have to see a much more significant number. I would estimate that we probably wouldn't see much reaction in oil unless we release 100, potentially 150 million barrels of crude oil now that we're seeing some disruption from Russia. There's been talk about releasing or alleviating gas taxes at the federal level. That has not gotten much traction. Of course, as prices go up to $4 a gallon, an 18-cent a gallon discount is not a whole lot. I would maintain that the administration could consider moving back to winter gasoline throughout the rest of the summer. That could help alleviate the price pinch somewhat. I would estimate it could reduce prices by maybe 25 to 35 cents a gallon, probably more than what a waiver on federal gas tax would be. So that's an option the administration hasn't really discussed, an RVP waiver allowing the nation to use winter gasoline throughout the summer months. Obviously, rising prices will have a profound impact on U.S. consumers. GasBuddy yesterday raised our yearly national average forecast. Our forecast was released in December. It called for a yearly national average of this year of $3.41. We reran models and updated inputs on the information that we have. And now we suggest at this point or believe that the national average for this year will be $3.99, a pretty significant increase. That will push the nation's yearly fuel bill to nearly $500 billion. So keep in mind, those increases in costs and gas prices are impacting consumers in a significant way, likely to spend probably $100 to $200 more on gasoline this year as a result of this situation. Going to touch on some of the questions here that we've been asked. So again, if you're a member of the media, please identify yourself in the comments with your outlet and the question, and we will try to buzz through some of these here as quickly as we can. How much can OPEC control to get this down? Well, OPEC has been over complying with the previous restoration and cuts, meaning that they're not returning as much oil as they have indicated. Saudi Arabia likely has spare output capacity. So does the United Arab Emirates. But both of those countries have so far not agreed to increase production, even as the president has asked them to do so. So unfortunately, some OPEC members are lagging behind. OPEC oil production is still not where it should be. OPEC is over complying with the restoration, like I said, of production cuts. So OPEC is taking its time. It's being very much a laggard. It's allowing oil prices to go up. It does have tools to bring prices down, mainly via Saudi Arabia and the UAE, but it is not taking those steps at this time. Why can the federal government not have more control on our domestic products? Well, unfortunately, that would involve a massive change. Because of the free market system in the U.S., we do not have state-owned oil companies. Keep in mind, back years ago, deregulation occurred, allowing oil companies to be privatized. Governments got rid of some of those assets. So essentially, we'd be going back to state-owned would be the reverse of the progress that we've made. The free market generally works, but for now, the system is that these assets and oil production cannot be controlled by a president. That is, oil companies, just like Apple and computer companies, car companies, can respond to changes in the business climate without anyone overseeing that. Question from Winston-Salem, WXII, why has gas price increases been so bad in North Carolina? It's hard to quantify. I'll say it this way, though, that there have been areas that have certainly finished the race, or I should say are running the race faster. Others will likely catch up. So if North Carolina has gone up so significantly, some of those increases may slow down. But we're seeing all sorts of abnormalities right now across the country due to this changeover to summer gasoline. And that could be particularly painful in North Carolina. I do know Michigan, for example, my home state, is up some 70 cents a gallon. And part of it is because of the changeover from winter to summer gasoline resulted in kind of a double whammy at the same time. So North Carolina could be experiencing that same transitional issue happening at the same time oil prices are going up. Jacob from the Washington Post. What am I watching in terms of the Iran nuclear deal and getting Iranian fossil fuels on the market? Well, at least for now, it does look like the White House is in maybe a weakened position. Iran, I think, knows that, and Iran may be asking for a lot, but the U.S. so far has kind of put down its foot on all of these mundane or smaller requests from the Iranians. So I'm not sure yet if a deal will be done. It's been imminent now for over a week. Iran's crude oil of 2 million barrels is not necessarily going to do as much. So that's probably a calculated position the White House is taking. It maybe does not want to give up as much as what Iran is trying to push for, given Iran's maybe upper position in the negotiations, knowing that the White House has tried to bring down oil prices. So I don't look for Iran to be very light in negotiations. I would look for them to be very heavy-handed, and they may be over-calculating their position on this. There's more pressure in Congress to sanction Russian energy. What would that mean at the pump? Well, as I had mentioned, because of previous sanctions on the banking sector, shipping sectors, it's been very difficult, if not impossible, for U.S. firms and many others to get oil from Russia to begin with. Now, not everyone may acknowledge U.S. sanctions. China will probably continue to get oil from Russia. But the fact of the matter is that the bulk of Russia's exports are already severely impacted by previous sanctions. And while a full-out sanction of energy may be more optics, I don't expect it to have as major of an impact now that that Russia's oil supply has already essentially been made very difficult to obtain. So it may have an impact, but not a major impact as we have already seen. When are we seeing such an upward trend? Can people still benefit from the dynamic nature of pricing and buying, as last month's GasBuddy study suggested? Obviously, in this time when there's been a rapid increase in price, again, studies can say one thing during normal times, but this is not a normal time. So obviously, when prices are actively climbing, what day of the week is best shifts to the earlier the better. So again, these studies are good for when prices are in mild trends up or down or in a steady trend. But obviously, given the tumultuous situation with Russia going to war, invading Ukraine, those studies become less relevant. So my word to motorists that are needing to fill up, obviously sooner, there's more likelihood that prices will be lower than later. But we expect prices to continue advancing. Tom with the New York Post, you mentioned we're getting close to the highest national on record. How soon do I think that could happen? We're at 478 at last check. I would expect here probably within a week we'll be at 485 and probably 380. A week beyond that, it could be $4. So sometime we could hit that $4 a gallon mark in the next week or two. We could conceivably hit that $4.10 previous record by the start of April, not Memorial Day, April Fool's Day, but it could be even sooner, just depending on the situation. I do think it will be sooner that we will hit that. If anything, that April 1st date will likely be pushed forward by several days, if not more than a week, depending on the outcome of some of the current events that we're watching. Do you think Illinois temporarily relieving some gas tax will help with prices? Probably in a very, very minuscule way. Illinois, if any states essentially lower taxes temporarily, that could be gobbled up by stations that are already facing severe increases. In fact, many motorists would probably not know this, but if there's anyone that hates rising prices like what we're seeing now at stations because they can't keep up with the increase in costs themselves, they're simply passing it along up the chain. So stations probably will not fully pass along the drop in Illinois gas taxes. And with prices actively climbing, consumers basically are not going to feel any relief from whether it's federal gas tax being waived. The 18 cents would be gobbled up in a matter of a day or two by rising prices. So even if politicians alleviate taxes at this point, because the trend is so strongly upward, it's going to be basically unnoticed by motorists because of the sharp rise in prices. How high do I think the price will go? Could 450 a national average happen? It certainly could happen. It's not within the realm of impossible. At this point, nothing's impossible, but there are things that are improbable. And I don't know that we'll see 450 a gallon, but the odds certainly grow every day that could happen. Las Vegas hit all-time record highs today after a 17-cent overnight spike. Vegas and Nevada very closely follow Western markets, and my concern with Western markets is that one refinery issue can certainly have a profound impact. So keeping that in mind, there is a risk that Nevada could, and Las Vegas specifically, could hit 475, and it's not impossible that they could hit the $5 mark. Again, I think at this point that's improbable, but I would say that we're also only one refinery issue away on the West Coast from Las Vegas getting to some of those somewhat apocalyptic numbers. But again, I don't expect anyone, even California at this point yet, to hit a $6 a gallon average. There may be some stations here or there that hit $6 or $7, but that does not mean the average. So even in California, a $6 statewide average at this point still seems unlikely. Is there any reason to believe any of this increase is price gouging? My opinion is no. I can show you what stations are paying and the cost is rising. Like I said, if I go over here to my energy tab where I track the price, the wholesale price, I can see that wholesale gas prices are up 12 cents a gallon today. That's a cost that stations monitor, and stations will be paying that higher price if they buy additional supplies of gasoline after about 5 o'clock tonight. So that is how we can tell you that prices are going to continue going up, because we see the prices. Now, having said that, I would say that probably 99.999% of stations are simply passing along the price increase. My definition of price gouging is when there's one station that's abnormally high compared to everyone else and they stay there. Such an example would be the Suncoast Energy station in Orlando, Florida, that for the last 5 years has charged $5.95 a gallon, whereas the stations down the street today might be at $3.79 a gallon. I think that's more of a clear-cut example of price gouging. But many of these stations are mom-and-pop stations, and they are trying to simply pass along the cost. They're the middleman selling fuel. They're dealing with the rise in the price of what they're selling to you. So a lot of these station owners are not looking to profit off of this. They're simply looking to stay in business and passing along the increase in price. So I'm going to go back. If there's any last questions here, let's get those out. Jacob from the Washington Post. Consumers, how will they respond to the rising prices, cutting travel? At this point, given the economic strength and the wage increases, I'm not sure that $4 a gallon has the same cachet as it did back in 2008. Keep in mind, if you were to adjust for inflation, that $4.10 record in 2008 would be $5.25 a gallon today. So with wages up, the calculus is a little bit different. I don't think $4 will squeeze as many Americans as it did back in 2008. So I don't necessarily know that there will be much reaction to $4 or $5 in California because of us coming out of the pandemic. Americans still have pent-up demand for getting out. Things are wide open now. The economy's open. People feel safer flying. And with the reduction in mask mandates, that may embolden more people to travel and feel free. So I don't know that high prices yet until they reach, until the national average reaches $4.50 or $5. I don't know that people will really slow down consumption. I mentioned Michigan is up in price because of the transition to summer gasoline. Are there other factors as to why it's gone up specifically in Michigan? Basically, the entire thing with the Great Lakes is transitioning to summer gasoline. Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, Illinois, I tweeted this about 2 weeks ago, that refiners were selling it basically a 50-cent a gallon discount to get all the winter gasoline out of their system. After that happened, those discounts basically dried up from 50 cents a gallon to nothing overnight, which then caused stations to see a 50-cent per gallon implied increase in their price. So that's why it's felt particularly bad in the Midwest, because of that transition adding to this whole situation. So with that, I don't see any other questions. Keep in mind, there are all ways that you can all save at the pump here. Fuel rewards programs like Shell Fuel Rewards can knock off a few cents a gallon. On top of that, you can layer the Pay with GasBuddy card if you have it to save anywhere from 20 to 25 cents a gallon, depending on if you have that Shell Fuel Rewards program. So look into those, look into discounts on cash purchases, and of course, fire up the GasBuddy app to shop around. Now, I will say, with prices rising so quickly, our team is being pulled in many different directions. I give a lot of props to our team of engineers who are working. There are some notes I'd like to say. The large one is that with prices escalating so significantly, I would ask you to certainly report prices. Our system, based on our price validation methods, is having a hard time keeping up, thinking that these increases are skeptical, or I should say believing that some of these increases are maybe larger than what is going on. So our system is a bit skeptical of these higher prices because we've never seen a situation like this so early in the year leading to record prices. So bear with us. Please report correct prices a couple of times. We're working on right now to improve that. But with that, check out gasbuddy.com and remember to check the app before you fill up. And with that, if there's any other updates down the road, we'll be sure to share them with you here. For now, have a great weekend and shop around with GasBuddy and stay safe, everyone.